You don't read much about it, but we had a second attack on Elsenborn Ridge on the 28th of December. I was in the outpost again. It was always foggy there early in the morning. When the fog lifted, I looked up and coming out of Birchfield, instead of trying to come up the road, they were going crossways there. Looked like they were on a parade. They had the horse-drawn wagons and equipment, and just like we weren't there. And I raised that rifle up and shot into them, and about the same time, we had a forward field observer in another hole over there. We called in an artillery fire on them. We slaughtered them down that draw that morning. And later on, in years I was back over, I talked to a German, who was a boy then, that lived over at Birchfield, asked him about that. He was there. He said the odor of dead Germans when it thawed and the snow melted was so bad we all had to leave home. In combat, we only had prisoners. We only had lost bodies when you withdraw. When you're moving, you don't lose them. You pick up your dead or your wounded. But and we only pulled back 2 or 3 miles in one places where we were. So all these bodies they found have been found in a small area, fairly small. After that, after the 28th, we had no direct attack after that day. They pulled out, and actually the battle would not have been called Battle of the Bulge if we hadn't held and they went around us on that day. Now we got shelled, just looked like a checkerboard on the snow out there, where we were shelled every day, and patrols at night, and weather was frostbite and trench foot, and it was more serious than you think. You'd think, well, guy could stop that, but it was a foot problem. We just had normal GI boot, except me. I was wearing German cleats boots. I took the boots off. I did. I didn't have any sense. If they'd have captured me, they'd have shot me. If we had been in that fight, I looked at that guy. He about my size, and old shoes were soggy and everything else. I thought, I just pulled his boots off and put them on. I got his burp gun, and that's where I got the P-38 pistol. I read something the other day about a story about the guy getting a pistol, and they claimed it was a Luger, but they were telling about me, but it wasn't a Luger, it was a P-38. Oh, I had a guy write a story about this, said that he was in heavy weapons back up the road toward Elsenborn. He said, that morning I took those 2 Germans up back there. He said, after he let us go by, said, the one of them behind that had the rifle knew the password, so he let them go. He said, and I looked down the snow when they passed, all 3 of them had hobnail boots on. He said, God damn, I should have shot him. But he said, a little bit, that one guy with hobnail came back down the road, went back down and crawled in his hole. So it was me he was talking about in the book. Probably the worst day of our battalion was on the last day of January. It was coming down this snowstorm you ever saw, about drifts waist deep, knee deep, everywhere. We were supposed to kick off about 3 o'clock, and Colonel Scott said, well, we could take it without any help. We just overman them and just go on in. Hell, it was daylight when we got there, 2-3 hours. It wasn't a few hundred yards back there where we were headed. And but E Company went in first. E Company got slaughtered, just completely. Machine gun set up, crossfire. They were sitting out there dead, leaning on their rifles, frozen in position. And they come down to me and they said, take us in. Here I go again. I knew it was a suicide deal. But anyhow, as we got out there, sure enough, they opened up on us. And they killed the guy with me and grazed me across the back. Just grazed me. No serious at all. I'd had worse wounds from I just put Band-Aids on from the shrapnel. But anyhow, I laid there from noon till dark. And when I got ready to move, I was frozen from waist down. Worst pain I've ever had. And I've had gout, and I've still had the worst pain I ever had. But I was froze, paralyzed, down, and I elbowed my way out. And they put me on a stretcher. No, they didn't. They put me on a sled and pulled me down and put me on a weasel. They took me back to the field hospital and knocked me out with morphine. And I guess it must have been a day or two before I came to. I hadn't shaved in a month or two, hadn't bathed, hadn't had a haircut, and cleaned. I feel like this. I said, uh-oh, they got me. I'm in heaven. I made it. And the only thing I had was that P-38 pistol. No doubt they got the holster, they got everything, and my billfold. I had a billfold. They had it laying there, and I had that damn pistol. Anyhow, this nurse come around and said, "You can't have that in the hospital. Let me have it." I said, "You can't have it." She come back about the third time. I pulled it back like that. I said, "Tell the doctor to come get it himself if he wants it." I told the nurse, I said, "You better bring me my clothes." She said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I need to get back. They need me." She said, "You're crazy." I said, "No, I need to get back." She said, "You don't know it, but for the war for you is over. You're through. We've been, well, killed and together and fought together." And I said, I am told that many times, but because it looked like I was bragging about being brave or something. I wasn't. I was crazy. I said, "I've got to get back." I went from there to Verviers Hospital, to Liège Hospital. They put me on a plane to fly me back to Paris. First time I'd ever been in a plane. Old C-47 looked like the wings were doing about like that. Anyhow, I was staying in Paris General about a week or 10 days. Here's a strange story too. I know it's true because I don't forget very much. They rolled this train up the coast, hospital ship. They rolled it on a barge and trailed the train and pulled it across the channel and used the same cars on the other side. It must have been same track on both sides. I don't know, but anyhow, I know we did. Oh, now we might have transferred this on the other side. I don't know, but they pulled that damn train on a barge, and I stayed about probably 3 weeks in somewhere in Scotland. I don't know where, near Glasgow. And they come around and wanted to know if you would fly back on a plane. I said, "Yeah, that'd be fine." So they put me on the Queen Mary. They changed it into a hospital ship. 5 days from Glasgow to Halifax, Nova Scotia. They unloaded us there and put us on the train. Went back to Boston 2-3 days. Then they wanted to know where you want to be shipped. And I told them either Bonham, which is close to where I live, or here, Temple, where there was an Army, there still is one here, over at Temple. And so they sent me to Colorado Springs. And I spent probably four months there at least in the hospital, on crutches a while. And but by the time the war ended with Japan, I had been discharged in August. About the week I was home when it ended, just barely, but it ended. I never talked about the war. My wife never knew what I was in. I never talked to anybody, never mentioned it, except it was always on my mind. This McIlroy here, I went down to interview Raymond McIlroy because distantly we are kin. And the old man went to A&M, so he got along fine. But he's about 13, 14 years older than me. But anyhow, he said, "You old enough to be in the war?" I said, "Yeah, I was old enough, and I was." He said, "What outfit were you in?" I said, "I was in the 99th. He said, "The hell you were." He's a salty old man anyhow. He said, "What regiment were you in?" I said, 393rd. He said, "Hell, I was in the 393rd. He said, "You go to reunions? You see a checkerboard?" I said, "I hadn't seen a checkerboard in 30 years, so forth." I didn't know they had one. So he gave me a checkerboard and how to join the association. The first year they had it in Pittsburgh, which they had a lot of them in Pittsburgh back then. They were small. They were mostly just a congenial get together and drink beer. But I didn't know it was all bad. You ought to see the difference in 30 years of reunion. Back then they'd be singing songs at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and fighting nearly. Now then, at the last reunion we had at 9 o'clock, gone to bed. Well, I kept wondering, wonder what happened to Pete, wonder what happened to Jake. And it was on my mind. I went to the first reunion I went to, was probably late 70s or something like that. They had it in Pittsburgh. Not one person from F Company was there. I didn't know it so. So I just went down to the Carnegie Library and worked on my genealogy a while and went back to but I got to thinking, I believe I'd find some of those guys. I can find dead people, I can find live people, surely. And I got a hold of one guy, he said, well, how are we going to do it? How do we know who to look for? I said, I can name them. And I named every name in my platoon. I said he was from Pittsburgh, he was from Cleveland, he from a little place up in Maryland. And one guy, I knew a little old place up in Oklahoma. I wrote the letter to the postmaster. I said, if anybody kin him or knows where he might find him, I'd like you to forward this address for him. He phoned me 3 days later and said my brother-in-law at the post office said he's looking for me. And so we built it up from 3,400 to 3,400. But like I was told him today, I got a hold of Dick Byers, who was a good man. Good, smart, intelligent, hardworking guy. And he and I, when I was president, and I sat down and I said, we need to build this up. This old stuff, just 2-day deal and drink beer, raise hell. And then we listed, find new members, get a book written, get a film made, do different things. And he kept bringing up MIA. I said, Dick, these people are buried up there in the Henri Chappelle on unknown graves. Can't find a needle in a haystack. And regularly got through. He said, how about the MIA? I said, okay, MIA, you're the chairman. I said, I know it won't work, but you're the chairman. That's the last I had to do with it. And him and Whitmore, him and these diggers, and this other boy that did the research, a lot of it, the research, Warnock. Yeah, they took over. It's over. I think that kind of fighting is over. I think there's always going to be wars. From biblical times, we know that they fight each other. But with the threat of the hydrogen bomb and so forth, I don't know whether we're going to wipe each other out someday, but it's going to be a different war. Well, we still had Coast Artillery at the time then, you know, and we had cavalry with horses trained in states to start with, so it's changed. Of course, I've always been interested in history and genealogy and stuff like that. And I wish my kids, my grandkids, are awful bright. Lots of them are real bright. I wish they'd listened to me and let me tell them a few things, but I wouldn't have listened when I was their age.